Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We get rolling on here. Coffee is hot as coffee crew rolls in. Thanks for tuning in. If you're tuning in live, thank you. Don't forget to say good morning. We've got a few people rolling in already. The regulars, the crew is here, which is awesome. If you're watching on the replay, thanks as well. Always appreciate it, all the views. But if you want to join us live, you will. I guess I'm like a broken record every day. It's 8 o'clock Pacific time, and we go for about 45 minutes. Talk about TFSAs, talk about investing, talk about what the heck is happening in the market, and wherever else the conversation likes to take us. So always good to have everybody rolling in. It's a good start to my day. Hopefully you all enjoy it as well. These are a lot of fun to do, and we'll keep doing them. It's all good, all good. So let's see. Always first. Candace, good morning. You've got coffee and donuts today. That's all right. I've just got coffee and my oatmeal, the standard. Hopefully you're doing well. Probably maybe not trading much today, Candace. I don't know. It's kind of one of these days. One of these days, the big Fed announcements. It seems like it's like I'm not a super sports fan, but it seems like it's like the Super Bowl today, the Super Bowl of the finance world. I think we're all waiting for that announcement and what the commentary behind it is coming up this afternoon. All good. And I saw your joke. We'll get to your joke in a second, Candace. And Paul, just in behind, just behind. Can't quite beat Candace, but good to have you here. You've been busy week. It's okay. If you're busy with work and stuff, definitely not slacking. But it's good to have you here. Good to have you rolling in. And there we go. Few minutes, almost there. That's the goal. So if anybody can beat Candace for a week, I'll buy your channel membership for a month. That's the prize. But she's tough. That's for sure, to get in there. Stan, good morning. Always good to have you here. Always good. Always good. Hopefully you're doing well. And see, Senecal, I don't think we've seen you before, so welcome. Or not a regular. Maybe watch the replays, but good to have you here. Thanks for joining. Always good. If you have questions, if you're new, like I always like to say, if you're new, don't be afraid to say hi. Don't be afraid to ask a question. Good chance if I can't answer it, someone in the comments will definitely be able to steer you in the right direction. It's a good group of people here. And that note too, don't forget, hit that like button. Always helps out. MC, good to have you here. As always, rolling in. Still has that special icon on your name. I have no idea why that doesn't work for you, but it's all good. Train, good to have you here. Good morning. And there we go. Yeah, there isn't not much happening. There's like everybody's waited on bated breath for what the heck is going to happen on this decision. I'm thinking, like we talked a little bit yesterday. I mean, you can give your predictions, fired in the comments if you want. Probably 25 basis points. He's going to try for that, but who knows? I mean, we could be surprised, and it could be again. Who knows? We will know soon enough to check in later on today. And Julius Caesar is here. Welcome. Always good to have you here. And let's get back up. Candace, I saw your joke, and I see you're on ChatGPT 4 joke. So you bit the bullet, and I'm going to guess you paid for the version of ChatGPT that costs money, which I've kind of looked at as well, but I don't think I use it quite enough. But after reading this joke, it's a pretty good joke, actually. It did a pretty good job, I think, on this one. An investor walks into a bar and orders a drink. The bartender asks, stock or bond? The investor replies, I was thinking whiskey on the rocks, but I appreciate your diversified approach. That is pretty good. That is actually pretty good. It's terrible, but it's like a good terrible. ChatGPT did a good job on that, carried a good dialogue for for that joke, Candace. You'll have to let me know, Candace, as well, if you've tried it out on your channel, maybe in some of your descriptions, how that works. I find that might be interesting, how it can elaborate a bit more, maybe on the video descriptions, or also helping you out with titles. That's what I normally use a lot of ChatGPT for, is helping, like on this channel, helps out kind of doing the titles on some of my videos, just to kind of give a bit of variety, but also down in the description, I kind of have a standard description that I normally use, that I've written out, but I'll copy paste that into ChatGPT and ask them to kind of update it and refresh it, and it usually spits out something that's pretty decent without having to do too much extra editing, which is kind of cool. All right, so the big news today, obviously Fed speaking this afternoon. I think is it at 2 o'clock Eastern, if I'm not mistaken? I think I got that correct. 2 o'clock Eastern, pretty sure. Correct me if in the comments. I'll have to double check on Twitter when that comes up. But obviously, once it comes out, it'll be all over everywhere, and we'll probably see what happens in the reaction to the market. It's always kind of fun to watch. For better or worse, when the speech is on, if you pull up. If you pull up a chart, and I was correct on the time, so 2 o'clock, I was correct, perfect. If you pull up a chart, like if you have signed up for TradingView or something like that, pull up the S&P chart and just kind of watch it, because you know when they're actually he's actually speaking, and if he's actually says certain things, it's literally in real time what kind of happens with the market. That is pretty interesting. So pull that up if you have some time and you're in front of a computer to kind of see that. I always find that I always kind of load that up and kind of keep an eye on that. Won't be going on live obviously during that time, but it's always kind of interesting to watch those reactions. We'll see what happens. I who knows? That's the big question. Big question out there. Who knows? We can predict. It's like one of those predictions we kind of think we know, but we don't know. We could be surprised. It's hard to know. We'll know tomorrow. We'll be able to obviously talk about it tomorrow, follow up and see how everything's going. Couple of articles that I did have pulled up though, that I think might be of some interest to everybody that's watching. And again, if anybody has anything, fire it away in the comments. It's always appreciated. And we'll go from that one. So OMC, there you go. So you put about half your money. I know you had mentioned you were sitting on a lot of cash at this point. So you have about 20% left. Okay. Over the last six months, yeah, the SPY did have higher highs and higher lows so far. Yeah, I'm still kind of optimistic. I think we're looking good. I think. Although for me, I mean, I don't have my everything I basically have is invested in my TFSA, and it's basically just a dollar cost average moving forward, sticking with plan. No extra cash coming, sitting there waiting for me. But that's awesome. So good. So you're in. I have a friend a couple of friends that I know, obviously. They don't join on the live streams, but we talk about the market every day, usually on a phone call at some point. We work together. So, and they're sitting on some cash too. So I keep always saying you should probably started, but you can't. This is the thing. It's hard to really time these things. You can just take a steady approach to it, like it sounds like you're doing. So good call. Okay, let's pull up. I've got a couple. One's kind of more beginner one. I think everybody kind of knows, but I figured I'd pull it up because it popped up in my feed, and it's always worth kind of as a reminder. And I think if there's anybody, I think especially important if anybody is new to the live stream or new to the channel to watch this stuff, trying to learn about TFSAs and investing, it's a good kind of starting point, and also a good refresher just to remember these things, obviously as well. So and Matthew, good morning, good to have you here. That is good. So this one is basically, I think everybody on the stream kind of knows this. The top 3 mistakes with your TFSA. First one is a big one, is not using it to invest, just mostly using it as a savings account. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having some savings, that's for sure, by all means, emergency fund, everything else. But is the way the TFSA is always advertised as a tax-free savings account. It almost should be rebranded as a tax-free investing account. That would probably make more sense. But on the flip side of that, because it is tax-free, the government probably doesn't really want people investing as much into it as opposed to just savings. And I know a lot of people just think it's for savings, right? Having your cash balance making a little bit of interest, although we're making a little bit better interest sometimes now in the TFSA. And I didn't know this for the longest time, is you couldn't use your TFSA for investing. This is what's opened my eyes in the last. I mean, I knew it, but I just didn't jump onto it, obviously, until the last couple of years. But people also treating it like a regular savings accounts where they're putting money in, but also taking money out. The idea, I think, is to save, invest for the long term, and keep your possibly shorter term savings outside of your TFSA and cash. If you have cash account, high interest savings account, so you can adjust it and take in and out and not have that impacted, because you want to basically be invested for the long term, right? That's what we all kind of know. And a lot of people, what they're kind of doing is they use it as kind of like an actual bank savings account, and they'll take the money out. And of course that messes around with your contribution room. So it does recommend obviously saving for is most Canadians treat their TFSA as a short-term savings account. You should more treat it like a long-term investing account instead. And the issue with taking in and out all the time, if you're moving stuff in and out all the time, is obviously your contribution room. Be careful of that, because you only have a certain amount to put in every year. You have a limit depending when you started your TF, your age and everything else. But you can have up to, if you were 18, I think when it first started, I think it's 88,000 if I'm not mistaken. But you can also see that in your CRA account. And if you're taking money in and out, make sure that if you're putting money back in, that you're not putting yourself over that limit for the year, because the withdrawals, if you take something out, it will reset and you'll be able to put it in the following year. So just be aware of that. Pretty simple, pretty kind of basic stuff. I know. I think for most people that are probably watching this, but maybe someone that's catching this is new to investing. Just to kind of a refresher. It's kind of good to know on that you have some options in your TFSA. I think we all do on here, again, like I say, but it's always good to kind of keep that fresh on your mind. All right. Eventually have to put your money to work. And there we go. So we talked about that. We just kind of the perfect timing coming in for the comment on that. The TFSA, you have to put your money to work. Long-term investing, I think, the long-term, so your cash isn't dragging it down and losing out on these gains for sure. And Naylor made it live. Good to have you here. Yeah. Good to hear. A few people treated TFSA like savings account. I originally did too, because it's sitting in cash. You're not making, MC, you're not, I was nowhere near the limit. I remember this is when TFSA first came out. I was like, oh, okay, it's tax-free savings account. I'll put my savings in there, and then you'd use it like an account, right? You'd have a bill or something like that, and you take it out, or you wouldn't be thinking long-term. And that was, like you said, when it was introduced, it was very, very common. And of course, when it first got introduced, obviously the limit was the first time. I forget, I don't know what the first amount, let's just say it was probably around $6,000, $8,000, whatever it was. And probably some people put that money in there, and all of a sudden they were treating it like a regular account. Probably a lot of people kind of got over their limit by mistake, really. But it's something to definitely be careful of if you're at your limit now, just to know. And good call, Candace. It can definitely get a bit more complicated if you have multiple TFSA accounts. For sure, that is definitely something to keep an eye on for people. Good reminder, especially if you're obviously really close to if you've maxed out every year and you are close to your limit, or you've taken withdrawals out and you want to pat it back up. It's definitely be careful on that. I think on the My CRA account, it will show you your contribution room. But of course, if you've done withdrawals and done other things, you definitely want to be very very careful, because you don't want to be dinged for over contributing to your TFSA. Definitely. I wish I had that problem where I'd have to really track it, but I'm still a long ways off. Eventually I will have to worry about it. But although I do only have that, the pretty much basically the self-directed account, basically sitting there with, obviously in my investments, I do have a TFSA saving, like I do have actually a TFSA savings account. This is what's happened. Like when they first opened up, I had one it was at ING Direct at the time. It was just a regular savings account. I have a tiny bit. It's sitting in there. It's literally in it's not even, I don't think, double digits. It's probably a few dollars in there. I just haven't closed it off or transferred it or done anything like that. It's just kind of sitting there because I think it's probably gained probably a dollar or something in interest, because it's just literally just been sitting there. But yeah. That sounds about right. I think you're right, about 5,000 at the time when it first came out. That sounds pretty close. And yes, you definitely have to track your own. Withdrawals for sure, especially if you're taking them back in, putting them back in if you're at your limit. So something that I'll have to worry about when when I start getting up in the balance, maybe I don't know, 5-10 years from now, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And so ChatGPT script a direct. Okay, here we go. Oh, okay, good call. Back to ChatGPT 4. So you let it direct a short, which you dropped today. She scripted it, so ChatGPT scripted it, and even told me what to use for graphics and all that. Yeah, I've tried that as well with the regular ChatGPT to kind of give a video, video transcript, and it will actually do that. It will actually break down and say insert, picture of X here or whatever, and it will also create you. You can actually make it do, Candice, if you want to do it more like interview style. It'll almost ask like questions, but it will also um, put in parts like put interviewer question, put your interviewer answer here, like that kind of stuff. Pretty interesting what it can do. I can't wait for the day that it will actually help me edit a video, where I can just film a video and drop it into ChatGPT and go edit this video, and it will cut it and splice it and get rid of get rid of all the mistakes and everything else, and then upload it directly for YouTube. That would be kind of nice. That would take a lot of time give me a lot of time back, basically, on there. It's coming. There's kind of neat some of the editing stuff that you actually have with some of the AI. AI is the buzzword this year for sure, but there's a lot of it seems like every company's trying to build some kind of AI into their mix. Always interesting, the technology, that is for sure. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way with that one. C Senecal. I'm trying to get this year. The goal is to get the max deposited, like that. But I still have. I mean, if you see, everybody can see my portfolio online. I have a ton of room in my contribution room, so I don't necessarily have to worry about going over. But my goal is to kind of start to get at least the max in every year that I'm allowed to kind of start to build that, and a little bit extra if I'm able to. It will slowly build. It just takes time. I'm not sure when you first started. Let us know when you kind of started your portfolio. You don't have to share your amounts or anything like that, but just let us know when you kind of started. It's always kind of interesting to hear when people started actually investing outside of saving in their TFSA. That would be nice too. Yeah, learn your voice. There is AI voices. There is companies that will do that, Candice. There's companies that will. I think you can send them. Geez, I can't remember the name, but it will. You can send them, I guess, or you can have to pay them, but they will create an AI voice of your voice, and you can use it for stuff like that. They must make you say certain things, recordings, and then you send it to them, and it creates an AI of you. And then I don't know. Obviously, you could get yourself 3D scanned, and then you could literally just have AI make your videos. You don't have to do anything. You just have to sit there, do nothing, just watch it. Just watch the money roll in or something. I don't know. There's something to be said though. I mean, there's AI, and then there's still. I mean, maybe eventually there'll be me on a live stream that's not even me. It's just an avatar of me, and it answers your questions. But then it gets to the point where it's like, if everybody has their own AI and avatar, who's actually joining? Like, is there any benefit of doing that if it's just if everybody's just AI and not an actual person? I don't know. Scary stuff. Probably beyond my lifetime. I'm not gonna have to worry about that. We'll still be able to interact on live streams, I think, for hopefully the foreseeable future. But lots of tech and interesting things definitely in the horizon. I think that's a spot that I'm kind of watch. I always like to kind of watch with investing and that kind of thing. It's always kind of definitely interesting. So with that kind of thing, yeah. How do we know? Yeah, it's real. My AI would my AI need coffee? I don't know. They'd always be awake and perky. That's good though. That's good. Oh, well, maybe I have to check out ChatGPT 4 for subscribe for it for a month. I'm sure they're going to probably release. There'll be the next version, right? As always, and then the prior version probably will become free or something like that. I'd also be interested to get into try Google's, but they haven't released it, I guess, to everybody yet. It's coming. I do have a Google account, like obviously I have a Google account. But that would be interesting what they kind of maybe work into Google with email and Gmail, because I use Gmail, like Google business account thing for work, which might be kind of nice. It already kind of adds certain things, like it knows how it's interesting because it starts to learn, like Gmail's already kind of starts to learn what you type a lot, like so it kind of does the not the autocorrect, but auto complete for you. And it really does a good job, because a lot of the times my emails and stuff, I'm saying, you're saying the same thing, or you're asking the same thing to people, because we're in the same, if it's in an industry, if you're talking about the same industry all the time, or you're talking about work all the time, and typing that, it gets to know what you want. So it actually does a pretty good job. There you go. That's one way to look at it too. Maybe everything is. You never know. We could be in the matrix right now. Yeah, yeah. Maybe we are in the matrix. Who knows? Who really knows what's out there? It's funny where these conversations always go. That's too funny. Oh, there we go. So started Wealthsimple a couple years ago. Awesome. So you started watching my videos. That's great. That's awesome. If you're watching the channel as well, maybe make sure you subscribe over to Candace's channel. Candace's Mountain Finance. She's got a great channel on there. Goes in lots of deep dives, way more deep dives and stuff that I would ever do. I just mostly share my portfolio and do these live streams, but she's got some great content as well. So I encourage you to go check that one if you haven't already. A little shout out for Candace, Mountain Finance. Yeah, the AI introduced. Is it just AI upon another line? You never know. It's the Matrix. Like we're like in one of those mirror rooms. It's just all. Who knows? There we go, Naylor, and there we go. Perfect segue for that question, because that was the next article I was actually going to pull up. There is an email. I didn't see it on an email. I saw it on Twitter this morning. They have posted it. So it looks like, so originally they have this Wealthsimple credit fund, and MC, I think you kind of scooped this a while ago, that it got released to I think a limited number of people at Wealthsimple, obviously probably based on balances, investment styles, that kind of thing. It looks like they're opening it up though. Now, there are some caveats to that. Obviously you need $100,000 minimum with them, and you need a minimum $10,000. They recommend, I think, a minimum $10,000 investment to start with. Yeah, I was interested until I got to that part. There we go. But anyway, so I can actually pull that up, Naylor. So good segue. They've got a couple articles. I found this through their Twitter. Let me just screen share this and pull this up. There we go. So they do have it's a new alternative investment portfolio. Not similar, but kind of the similar style, I think, of the venture fund. So they're trying to basically bring in funds for this alternate investment portfolio that you can set up on your account. Their target is 9% yields. Basically, what it is a product that you're basically putting money into a pool that one of their advisors they're using. It says down here, their advisor is. Where did it go? I can't see it. Let me just scroll down. It's in here somewhere. So they pull the money. They loan it to private businesses and individuals. Obviously, the target is 9%. Obviously, the loans are higher risk because they're the rates, the higher loan risks. They are using. There's obviously risks involved, and it's called Sagard, SAGARD. That's something I would have to definitely search up. So they have opened that up. If you go into they have a blog, like a magazine. So the link is on there. If you go to their Twitter, it is on there. But I did actually open up, and there's another link that you can find. They do have it actually on their website. You can find it. In order to be kind of invited to this, you do have to. Ask for an invite to apply with your email account that you have with your account. So if you submit that, it will probably if your account is over, I guess over a certain balance, you'll get obviously invited and be able to set this up and you would set it up, I think, like any other account. I think you can have it in, from my understanding, personal. You can have it in a personal account. And also I think you can have it in probably a registered account as well, RSP, TFSA. Don't quote me on that, but I think it did mention that down. If you go to their, basically it's like wealthsimple.com/private credit. There is also a FAQ. So they're kind of basing it here. They've got some charts of annual, estimated performance. So private, it's not that, it's not that high, not much high over what they're kind of showing. Hopefully this can kind of show being in the U.S. equities. Now I would look at that. It might not be. It's hard to know how on the risk on this. I think possibly equities could maybe perform a little bit better, but also too, you may have less risk. It's hard. You really have to look at this. It might have more risk in the U.S. equities, maybe less risk in the private credit. Hard to really know. That's where your research and some diligence comes in there. But they do have an FAQ. So you can go in there after, so anybody can view this, and you can kind of find out that if it's right for you, and then if it's might be something that you might want to look at, obviously, to see if it's a good fit for your, for diversifying your portfolio. That's the big thing, and it is. So it's so it was 4% over 100K with them. So do 4% of the people have over 100,000 with them? Is that I think what you said there, MC? Was there an article? Yeah, you found it. So you found, I think, in the Globe and Mail or on Reddit or something like that. I think it was talking about it. I remember you kind of sent me you had sent me kind of a link or a screenshot of it as well. Somebody was talking about it. So, and there you go. Yeah, that's correct. Yes, it was correct. And if there is a webinar. I track that down somewhere. I think if you sign up for it, you'll get an email and it mentions a webinar. So check that out if it's something, if people are kind of interested in it. I'm not sure if it's for me, but I have to track down that webinar and see. It might be worthwhile to kind of tune into that one, just to kind of learn about it. If you can do it in registered accounts, maybe, because it's going to be definitely a longer term investment. That's the one thing I think to be aware of. They're kind of saying you want to kind of have it at least 5 years. So it's not an investment that is liquid, right? And looking at some of the FAQ, it does kind of mention that they're only going to allow withdrawals from the fund. I believe it was quarterly. If you're wanting to take capital out, but also too, it can also be possibly that closed off, just depending on the situation. Of the fund, you may not be able to access your funds, just to be aware of. So definitely don't put all your eggs in that basket, but something to look at to diversify might be something good if people are interested about that. And so it is for registered, yeah. So you can use it for registered. Then if you've looked at it, Naylor, then RSPs, TFSAs. A question I would have is, can you use it for a lira? That would be interesting, because I do have a lira that is sitting there, and this might be something that would be good to diversify the lira. But I'll have to find that out. I don't know if they allow that or not for whatever reason. But and yeah, MC, it's true. I think you kind of nail it there. It's not that much possibly higher than going into equities, and obviously equities being more liquid. Sometimes being liquid is better. Now their target is 9%. Maybe they're definitely, the loans are very interest rate dependent. So that's something to think of too, where you think interest rates are going to go, right? So from my understanding, the loans they do are floating, right? So they would float on interest. They would float with prime. So if you kind of think that prime rate is going to be coming down in the next little while, obviously that's going to impact your yields. Your yields down, so you might have better opportunity somewhere else. Really hard to know. That's the thing. But again, if it's if you're diversifying, there's nothing wrong with necessarily diversifying, but like you said, there's probably a different opportunities in a different alternate investment companies, like you said, BAM, there you go, Brookfield, that kind of thing. So do your research. Definitely before going into that one, like any investment, right? But just it's interesting. It's nice that they're. It's kind of always interesting when companies, and I'm invested in Wealthsimple, so but it's always interesting when companies are giving some alternatives and different types of investments, so you can explore those opportunities and see if it fits for you, not for everybody, but. So there we go. So lots coming out. Okay, Manulife is coming out with an ETF that could be interesting. It's called Manulife Smart Global Dividend ETF. That might be an interesting one. That's interesting. As I'm scratching my nose here. When is the Candace a bit more info? That'd be kind of interesting. I'm sure you'll probably do something on your channel if it comes out. That could be interesting for some diversification as well. And then Harvest is coming out with Diversified Equity Income ETF, HRIF. Let me. Is that one out yet, Candace? Let me pull that up. HRIF. I don't see it, but sometimes it doesn't. If it's not launched yet, Harvest. Monthly. Oh, okay. So they have a monthly income. They have a monthly income one. That must be probably tied. Is that more tied to bonds? I think maybe, could be wrong. So they're doing more of an equity one. Okay, interesting. And they just filed the prospectus. Okay, so something to watch. There's never a shortage of ETFs. So there we go. I mean, there might be something that's maybe better to look at, especially depending what you're wanting to invest in, as opposed to locking stuff away for a long period of time. Necessarily, it might be better to go to ETFs. I did lock up with the venture fund. We'll see how that does. That one's actually just really sitting mostly in cash still. I have to do an update video on that one actually soon, because the first tranche of funds have been taken, but it's basically only about 4% of the investment has been invested already. So it's mostly sitting in it's still sitting in the cash ETF PSU right now. So they'll slowly, I think, put that out over the next little bit in stages. So not available, will be coming soon. Okay, good to know. We'll keep us posted on that one, Candace. There's a video idea once they launch. Put up a video of some new ETFs. Kind of good to know. Might be something to kind of look at. I think that the Manulife one does sound interesting actually. Might be for some investment. Yeah, that's the one thing about some ETFs. If they're new, especially, is the spreads. You have to be careful of with the volume. Yeah, definitely with that. That was kind of a little bit happened with the Tesla some of those yield shares when they first came out. I think Vic had mentioned there was quite a spread on them. At the very beginning, just not a lot of trading. I think it's probably starts to kind of even out, but yeah, it's something to be aware of for sure. Especially and like you said, even some older ones might have. You gotta watch that too. Definitely, especially for some of the more niche ones, right? That not everybody. You look at something like for example, in mine is like VFV, right? It's massive, and there's the volume is massive on that, so you don't really have to necessarily worry about that. But some of the smaller, you see it in some of the smaller more niche ETFs for sure. Definitely be aware of. But be interesting to see. It's always kind of neat when you see new ones. Yeah, that's true too, right? There's people ask that a lot actually. Like, what happens if an ETF closes or goes doesn't kind of gain, like you said, gain traction. If it does close, it basically, what happens is it sells all the assets under administration, and then it's basically paid back to you, and it is a taxable event because it is you are liquidating shares, and that is something to be aware of some of these ETF, because sometimes you probably, if you're holding them, like you said, if it was a long term hold, and all of a sudden you are forced to liquidate, have them liquidated. If it's out, if it's outside something that's not a registered account, you'll be taxed on any gains. That's for sure. If there's gains on there, right? It can go the flip. It could go the flip side as well, and could be the flip side. If you take a loss, it's never good in like a TFSA or something like that. But yeah, just something to be aware of new ETFs. Like I said, there's no shortage of ETFs, but again, they come with risk, like everything else. They're not risk free, right? So you have to kind of know what the risk is in those for sure. Oh, okay. There we go. So good comparison on things. So ZEQT is BMOs, and BMO has a lot of good ETFs as well, though. So it's their kind of similar packaged ETF as VEQT or XEQT, and I know XEQT is a popular one on the channel. Zach's not here. He's working to invest in XEQT. And so you did look at it, and the results were a little bit better, but the volume is very, very low. So you didn't switch over. There you go. Sometimes it's best to stick with what you know. I've been looking more and more at XEQT to get a little bit of exposure into the other geographies. Haven't decided to do anything with it yet, but I think I'm still going to build up VDY and VFV. But if I kind of stop back on that one and move into XEQT a little bit, to give me a little bit more diversification. There'll be some overlap, obviously, a little bit with North America, but if I stop kind of putting into one of the other ones, yeah, we'll have to see. That's a good idea. That's like the hot sauce question. So you ordered those hot one season. Those are good videos to usually watch. That would be good for a live stream. So you can answer finance questions while it gets hotter and hotter. Um, and you probably will regret it. Make sure, Candace, you have a lot of what do they drink? Drink like milk and yogurt, or ice cream or something like that to take the pain away. That's good. Good luck for you. I do like hot sauce, but I don't like super 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 hot sauce. I've had some doozies of hot sauce in Mexico and stuff like that, and it's just like whoa. Um, I'm more of a mid kind of spice, maybe hot, but nothing like extreme by any means. By any means. Yeah, something to kind of think about then. Yeah, bigger if you're in retirement and they get hit with a huge gain. Um, you could have a huge tax bill. That sometimes makes sense because obviously after, yeah, if you have something, if you don't have your RSP or anything like that, yeah, that could definitely trigger a bill. Something to be. That's where I think it probably does make a lot of sense when you get up to close to retirement age to probably get some advice on stuff for sure. That probably doesn't ever hurt to have a second opinion on how your holdings are doing and what you're doing to make sure they're going to fit, and you want to make sure that you're covered just in case of stuff like that. Going forward. Good points. Good points. Yeah, the hottest one. The interviews are very good because you see the interview start off, and it's almost the people that are getting interviewed are not. I wouldn't say necessarily guarded. Just depends on the person, but maybe a little bit guarded. But as the sauce gets hotter, their answers get more basically authentic because their guard is completely wiped out by the insane spice, which is good. Just talking about hot sauce, I can feel it in my head. That's a good one. I'll definitely be watching that stream. Good idea. Good idea on that one. All right. Well, there we go. These ones are always lots of good conversation on these live streams. We're coming up. We're almost, well, we're over the halfway. They do go so quickly when everybody is chatting. It was definitely a good time. Again, reminder, if you're watching and you're new, don't be afraid to say hi if you have something that jumping out, and again, hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It's all good. It does sound like fun. That would be a good one. I will tune in. I'll be tuning in for that one, Candace, to watch it. Yeah, Globe and Mail. I saw that one yesterday too. So RBC is wanting to bring everybody back at least 3 or 4 days a week. I think that's a good thing. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Probably a lot of people not happy about that necessarily, but it looks like that's kind of where they want to go. I mean, they're paying the big rents for the big towers, so they obviously want people back in the office. The article did kind of mention too, when I read it, that they're kind of saying they understand that some work from home is kind of here, and it does go to kind of have like a full hybrid model. But yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think more and more businesses will probably be starting to do that. That's for sure. It will be a good one. Good. Yeah, that's a good one too. I don't have really my crypto on Wealthsimple. I did do that video for how to stake Solana. So I have like 1.5 Solana sitting on there still staking. That might be kind of interesting. Yeah, I know they do Solana and they do Ethereum, but there is obviously other proof of stake coins on there. It'd be good if they actually did open that up. It might give some opportunities for people. But a lot of it too, you can actually just do. I think the better way to go about it is to take your digital assets off of Wealthsimple after you buy it and have your own hardware wallet and stake it yourself. I think that's probably the best way to do it. But if they open some up, that might be some opportunity as well to see. They've kind of taken it with Wealthsimple. I find they've kind of taken a bit of a backseat to crypto, it seems, but that I think is just the market right now. Obviously, with everything that went on with FTX and all that kind of stuff. But maybe they'll add it. Maybe they'll add in the future. What you should do is send them a message and say, hey, when you're going to open up more assets for staking, see what they come back with. I think the more people that requested it, they would probably look into doing it more. I think probably a lot of it comes down to regulations and everything else too, though. It's hard to know. Yeah, the big bank. I'm sure they will. We'll start to see announcements, right? TD, CIBC, all the big ones will probably join suit. Bank of Montreal. It's always the RBC is always the biggest, so they're first to the punch. And like you said, yeah, there you go. So yeah, they wait for the one to make the first move, and then the rest kind of make the changes. Like when when prime rate changes, or mortgage posted rates change and stuff like that. That's usually the first mover, and then they all kind of pausing to wait and see, and then as soon as one does, they all do. Oh, you have 18 Solana. That's awesome. That's good. Yeah, interesting. I think I have a 1.4 or something like that. But my crypto is basically Bitcoin, as I have. But obviously you can't stake Bitcoin. It's just sitting there holding. That's all I do with that. Yeah, there is a new CEO for Bank of Nova Scotia. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, which one? Open a wallet. There's a few on that one. I have a ledger. It's like a little. It literally just looks like a USB key, and it connects to the computer. It's pretty simple actually. Ledger's a good one. There's a few other brands. I think Trezor is another one. The Ledger is popular. They cost about $150. So depending on the amount I mean, obviously 18 Solana is still a pretty good little chunk you have sitting there. The the wallets are fairly simple to set up and walk you through for sure. It has an app that runs on your computer too that you can use to and transferring is fairly easy. I've transferred funds from Wealthsimple out to my like Bitcoin out to the wallet. It was pretty seamless to do. Didn't take doesn't take long. It obviously it takes a bit of time to settle on the Bitcoin blockchain, depending on what the block is, but it doesn't. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple. Even also ShakePay is really easy to get out of, get your Bitcoin off of ShakePay. ShakePay I'd probably find easier. It's literally scanning a code and it transfers it to your wallet once you have it set up. So it's, yeah. Yeah, came completely from outside of industry. It was kind of a bit of change for the big banks. It was outsider, yeah. Because it usually is a lot of times from within or from another financial institutions. We'll have to see with Bank of Nova Scotia. Yeah. But it also seems I know MC a lot of the Canadian. I mean, banking in general isn't sometimes in a great hasn't had a great year so far. But with the share prices. But we'll have to see. I think it'll come back. Banks. I think the banks in Canada are fairly famous last words, fairly steady, but and secure and safe. Yeah. Can you run? Yes, you can. It has an app. You have. I do it. I can do it on my phone. You can connect up on your phone. The what model is this? This is the. Sorry, I can't really. I have to look at the Nano. It's the Nano X, and it also has Bluetooth, so you can connect it to your phone via Bluetooth. And I would assume it would work on an iPad as well. I don't have an iPad, but I would assume because it works on Android and Apple that it would probably have. I'm sure they have an iPad app. You probably have to look at the App Store for that, but it has Bluetooth, and it's pretty easy to connect. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Probably a good thing to do. I think if you have, I think if you have a substantial amount in there, it's probably not a bad idea to have it on your own custody, just in case. But I would say probably if it's, I mean, you want to. I think Wealthsimple's pretty secure in terms of how they're holding their digital assets and crypto. But if you want to be like literally 100%, sure that it's in your hands, is to hold it yourself. And then the risk with that comes is if I was to, you have to set up a seed phrase to be able to access and unlock it, and have your accounts. But if I was to lose this, it would be, I mean, I could still recover it with my seed phrase. But if I was to lose my seed phrase and you don't have that stored in somewhere secure, or a copy of it secured somewhere, if you don't have that, you would lose everything if you lost that. So your security is on you, pretty much. So. With all the banking issues on currently, I feel actually more bullish for fiat. I think most people want a form of insurance, knowing their money is safe by financial. Yeah, we're seeing that a little bit down the States, right? They've raised the deposit limits. Maybe we'll see something like that in Canada, right? With some of the CDIC insurance in Canada, it's $100,000, and but maybe they'll raise it. Yeah, that's a concern, right? If for certain individuals. For insurance, knowing that your money is safe. I mean, I think Canada's in a good position. We're in maybe I think a little bit better position than obviously the States, but again, you want to make sure that your money is safe, and Yeah, interesting times, that's for sure. Sorry, I'm just. Why would a person really want to go to the network on a USB key? I'm not sure. Um, well, it's not a USB key. It's basically just. I mean, all the. It's like a key to unlock, like to hold to store. It's like to store. It's kind. It is kind of confusing. I get that. It's basically just a. The ledger is basically just a password protected key that can unlock your accounts on the blockchain. So it's not like a USB like physical key. Um, your if you were to if I was to lose this, like for example, my Bitcoin is still on. It's all held on. It's all my account is on the Bitcoin blockchain. So this is just a key to unlock that account with the codes that I have. But it could be any kind of wallet to unlock that as long as I know my seed phrase. Hopefully that makes sense. It can be a bit confusing. It's kind of confusing when you first kind of get into crypto and doing it yourself. If you're looking at Ledger though, C Senecal is there's some great videos on YouTube. Kind of explains the setup and everything else. So and MC, yeah. Hopefully that answered the question, MC. It can be kind of confusing. It's not like technically on that key, um, and yeah, it can be kind of confusing as you get into it. But once you move, like the first time you move Bitcoin yourself is very stressful because you have never done it before, and you're wanting to make sure you send it to the right address, because once you send it, if it's gone to the wrong address, that's not yours. It's gone. It's transferred. Like it's basically finished. It's gone, and you want to make sure you're sending it to the right place. But it's pretty easy. And yes, so if I lose the access, yeah, I can still access my my accounts. It's the accounts are basically secured with a seed phrase of a bunch of words that you'd have. If I was to set up a new wallet, I'd have to input those. I'd have to input those that seed phrase, and it would unlock. So if someone if I lost this, someone found it, they would have no access, no access to it at all. Yeah, there's also a code to get into this. So it's not like it's unlocked all the time. If you plug it into the computer, you have to put a numeric code in there to unlock it, and then you have access. So yeah. Um, Yeah, everybody's kind of so not particularly bullish on BTC. I think there will be. I think there will be a digital currency, government rated. Absolutely, I think that's coming probably sooner rather than later. But it comes down. There you go. Yeah, I could see that. I could see it getting released for that. I don't think it's that far off. There's also lots happening with the states in regards to that, and also the UK. But the issue comes with CBDCs, central bank digital currency, is the control of it, which I think is a whole other can of worms to discuss and talk about. That could be a live stream for in the future, but I think we're coming. Whereas with Bitcoin, I mean, there's no counterparty, right? It's Bitcoin, and no one controls it. And no one can control how you. It's interesting because nothing can control how you send your money. Yeah, and it is right now. It's getting easier. It is getting easier, MC, for the average person sorting it out. But it also, if you also think back when, I mean, I can think back when we never had bank cards, and to tell I remember my mom, like telling my mom, when you go to the bank now, you have a bank card. You used to use checks for everything. It used to be you used to pay cash for everything. Then you use checks, and then you'd have a card, and then all of a sudden, like you have a card that you can literally just tap on tap on a machine. It's coming. It's just a matter of time before I think it's not as complicated as it actually sounds. It's just learning new. It's learning lingo, and there's different terminology. I think that's probably for the average person. It's not that once you start to kind of learn about it, it makes more sense, MC. But again, it's not for everybody. So that's all good. It's all good for the average. Yeah, and for the average person, it's probably it sounds complicated, but that's why there's options. Like, I mean, Wealthsimple makes it super easy, but there's nothing to maybe stop Wealthsimple from starting up and having their own wallet built into the app, right? And you can transfer. I mean, that's essentially what they have. I mean, you can transfer Bitcoin in and out of Wealthsimple very easily without having a hardware wallet. So in theory, I could be sending from my account if I know C Senecal's Bitcoin address in Wealthsimple, I could send them Bitcoin as well, and they could receive it. So it is simple, but there needs to be better technology in terms of making it simple. It's kind of, it will, if it takes off, it will be technology we use without necessarily realizing we're using it. Much like a bank card tapping, we just tap it, or on our phone now, we tap our phone and it just pays takes it from our account. So it'll come. But who knows what it will be that we'll be transacting with. It's hard to know. It might be a CBDC. Probably will be eventually. And then that's a whole other can of worms. You could talk about social credit scores, and there's been talk in the UK that if you're the CBDCs, if it's over a certain amount, it gets then transferred into regular money, and you could have social credit scores where if you're spending too much money, well, I don't know, you spend too much money on cigarettes and alcohol, it could cut you off. Who knows? Obviously, it can be scary. There could be even also two separate monetary policies, two separate interest rates for a regular currency and then a CBDC currency to kind of a whole bunch of things that could happen. Interesting times. That's all. There we go. Well, we're coming up to the end. We always get on a tangent. Obviously, there's some room there for some more conversation. If there's some interest from people, let me know in the comments on the live stream. It's always handy. Coming up at 9 o'clock though, I do have to get to work. Busy at work, which is good. So more work means more ability to invest. As we go. But I like these comments coming in. Yeah, currency without regulation could lead to social. It could, or currency with too much regulation. I'm not a. There's different camps in the Bitcoin camp. That's for sure. There's maybe some more conversation of this on maybe an upcoming live stream, MC. It's always kind of interesting. Actually, a friend of mine I could bring on, and he's very anti CBDC, so might be some good. I'm not necessarily anti CBDC for anything, but yeah. And that's right. They have the Fed now is launching April 1st. Is that F? Oh, sorry, that's first home savings account. I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm on the whole digital thing and thinking the Fed now coming up, but. FHSA launches April 1st, but many banks and brokers will not have it available yet and expect to have it available later in the year. Oh, okay. So FHA, the first home savings account, I found a really good thread, Candace, on that on Twitter. I'll have to dig it up, talking about it, because I was kind of like, this doesn't make sense. But after reading it, he's obviously a financial planner. It actually made some sense. So that might be something to kind of talk about in the future, which is awesome. And there we go. Have a great day. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Always fun to chat for this. I will be back tomorrow. We'll have it posted on the channel later on, and we will leave it with Candace. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks again for everybody that's been joining. Thanks for all the new people that came on. Great conversation as always. And if you have questions, comments, you can always fire them and leave me a comment in the video, and we'll talk about them in an upcoming stream. Be more than happy to. These are always fun. Have a great day, everybody.